in the lead up to the last election, the last two elections, you know the people you promoted in this insult fest. You know the people you promoted who maligned everybody in this country. They respected no elder. They respected no chief. No corporate executive was spared except their NDC. You kept quiet. You said absolutely nothing. President Mahama, most of the insult, most of the misinformation and the maligning was done in your name. You know it.
Abusing mamena was saying, I mean, Ghana for Indian Semo, Omobekon, na Ekame, I said, Dona Esro. Miriam, my video, me, I hear video, me, Eshe, me, I surprise. Sampson Lardy Ayenini, our year host, our newspaper program, no sono, Babu Nagri, Ediama, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. See in Ayebekaya 2016, ever basic 2020 to 2024 elections, no. Kevin Ekwabalute, la now Yeni Paba Kumbia is someone our can edit His Excellency, the former Vice President, Dr. Bawumia MPP forum, when you are not enough form. It's way in a Sampson Lardy Ayenini, or since that time, Nana Kevin Taylor, why send money in now His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Now we're gonna remember what say now we po and we the greatest beneficiary. Nanso one can assembia and what na Kevin Taylor or Kevin Taylor and say over PM we gonna remember na die na e was say the Kevin Taylor and they have no ekasi Kevin Taylor and I want number or ye the open it's one of the air course we gonna remember say free speech na ye ma kwan e man for enter o mo adweno already was say atemidie enya dia ososo na emu so obi beka assembly na His Excellency nebu ebefu anase yokofo any Ghana Police Service obekwa kwachi sani parade was asem no on so na nansen eni nyagete say NDC member bi wakasa amana no etia His Excellency the former Vice President Dr. Bawumia Emma Ghana Police eto omunsa e de freno asisi a me no e kasai omu enya na Dr. Bawumia oti sa asem no e na we issue statement a wo kase sa asem no de wo dey interested enti omunya sa enipa no na omfa na huni na sa asem no e ba beto odwa no e na NDC members most of them omu kase Bawumia oye ayenya atwum na asa ne nkofo a omu anidi atema ye punish omo no enu nti e na ma oye sei e ho e na Sampson Lardy Ayenini o kire na adwen se NDC for omu kasa asem ya woni mo enya bi ko somewhere 2011 John Kuma the late na wo ye edwoso MP okasa emana no etia His Excellency the former president John Evans Attah Mills Emma Attah Mills issue statement can say John Kuma omo enya no na omfa na ho eni edisene Bawumia so aye the same thing now why are you complaining NDC members and asem really fit mo ho etibia Sampson Lardy Ayenini or say His Excellency John Dramani Mahama won in the government no omo eye no on so kire say omo e no mo benefit from those kind of insults nene ebimuso esunya why are you arresting them it's one of the one His Excellency ni NDC for nyabi na wo kan say bi so ever Dr. Bawumia the crack na wo dey to abontin no was say apart from say all that right say obey issue that statement no in a way a political strategy and Bawumia so oye it's one of the second no etwa na etwa enti wa kire na bi e dia kwa sa arrest na asisi ya obi kan say mo na ya kye no na ye no akwakudina assembly bia and say police for afre say nipa no Sampson Lardy Ayenini the host e wo newspaper program no so no wa kire na bi na minuam say video we die bestro so obenya motre na wa hwe ni nyina e dia kwakosi awiye na watin semo Sampson all can as no we are on so me akọ comment section na wa kire wa bi e dia kwa ho say the all can no kwan so a e no ana say won no enya bi mesro say unya en subscribe ya na wa subscribe e di amame like video we a share ma unye bi no nso unya bi enhwe beda wase yenko na yenko tie Sampson Lardy Ayenini yanko don shira.
So today my take, the abuse of free speech, political hypocrisy and the limits of freedom. If you log on to social media today, you're almost immediately greeted by a toxic cesspool of abuse, reckless falsehoods, and calculated insults. Partisans on all sides have turned digital platforms into arenas for character assassination, relentlessly attacking public figures, including the president and his wife, with outright lies and vitriol. Now the state machinery has swung into motion, and individuals are being arrested and hauled before the courts for their words like never before. So far, almost double the number in 2 years than the entire administration of President Akufo-Addo, 8 years. Let me be clear. As I have maintained consistently over the years, this ugly subculture of free speech abuse must end. I don't know why you can't take on the issues rather than insult elders, people. Freedom of speech was fought and won to safeguard democracy, to hold power accountable, and to champion truth, not to serve as a license to malign citizens or act foolishly. However, my stance remains unchanged. Custodial sentences and criminal prosecutions are not the remedy in most of the cases. Weapons of state power, like Section 208 of the Criminal and Other Offences Act and Section 76 of the Electronic Communications Act, should not be deployed as criminal hammers against foolish or offensive speech. The solution lies in civil remedies, robust public discourse, and social media opprobrium. What is truly bewildering? Yes, what is truly bewildering, however, is the sudden shock expressed by politicians, especially President Mahama and the NDC. I don't know why they are shocked. Shocked over this growing trend. Really? It begs the question, why the sudden outrage? The NDC and the leadership of the current government were without doubt the biggest beneficiaries of the misinformation and insult fest that characterized the last two elections. Yes, the last two election campaigns. Never once did they express revulsion or publicly rebuke their social, serial callers and social media activists who insulted, vilified, and maligned almost every prominent politician in the NPP, as well as respected traditional chiefs and elders across this country. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You cannot nurture a monster for political expediency during elections and then feign horror when it begins to bite everyone around you. In the middle of this saga, former Vice President and the NPP flag bearer, Dr. Bawumia, issued a press release calling on the Ghana Police Service and the Attorney General to discontinue the prosecution of an NDC organizer in Agona West, who was arrested for allegedly publishing false news and making offensive comments about him. Dr. Bawumia made it clear that he never lodged a complaint or sanctioned any prosecution, reaffirming his conviction now that the answer to offensive speech is better speech, and the answer to falsehood is truth, not handcuffs, courtrooms, and crushing bail conditions. Predictably, critics have pounced on Dr. Bawumia, pointing out that he remained silent when similar speech-related prosecutions occurred under the administration in which he served as vice president. While that criticism is understandable from a historical perspective, the hypocrisy of NDC critics claiming these current prosecutions are in the name of the Republic and therefore beyond political intervention is glaring. They conveniently forget history. Back in July 2011, when the late MPP activist, he became Deputy Finance Minister. He was my mate in Legon and became my friend. John Kuma was picked up by the police for allegedly making offensive comments about the late President Evans Attah Mills. President Mills himself directly instructed the police to release him because he was not interested in pursuing the case. If President Mills could intervene to prevent the criminalization of speech directed at him, Dr. Bawumia is entirely entitled to disavow prosecutions done purportedly in his name. Of course, he's a politician. He can see what is going on. This is being done to attempt an equalization so that it can be said that it's not only people who are maligning and insulting the First Family and NDC politicians who are being arrested and prosecuted and put in jail, but even in the NPP, those who insult the flag bearer are also facing same things. It is my prayer that politicians across the spectrum finally digest this painful lesson. In the lead up to the last election, the last two elections, you know the people you promoted in this insult fest. You know the people you promoted who maligned everybody in this country. They respected no elder. They respected no chief. No corporate executive was spared, except their NDC. You kept quiet. You said absolutely nothing. President Mahama, most of the insult, most of the misinformation and the maligning was done in your name. You know it. You didn't pause 1 minute to disavow it. You've nurtured a monster, and now it is grown. And people are latching onto that. They feel it is okay. Please, don't underestimate what the ordinary person learns from the people at the top. They feel it is right. That's why they are doing it. Please learn the lessons. This is not how to grow our democracy. Free speech is a sacred constitutional right, but it carries responsibility. And those of you who are doing this, including journalists, you make it difficult for us, the advocates, against the repressive legislations that are being used. It is not a permit for lawlessness, nor is it a shield for foolishness. And that will be my take.